Hi, it's Paula. This is the Common Book Show. I'm here with Richard and Nessa and Jason and my son Tom on drums. Oh my gosh, my brain is fried. All right, so this Mick, if you're watching, because I know you watch a lot, I want you to know that this thing that I'm going to read was 3 pages, but catering to you, because you always say my stuff is too long, I edited it down to 1 page.
Well, I said that too.
Well, then it's for you as well. Can I do it? Can I dedicate it to both of you?
Sure.
You must not like. Hey, you must not like progressive rock songs that are like 17 minutes.
All right,
prefer the short 2-minute pop songs.
This is my contribution today. I'm listening to the Scarlet Letter, and Nathaniel Hawthorne, and I am loving it so much that I can't wait to read all of Nathaniel Hawthorne's books over again because I can't remember any of them. Because that's the way my memory is. Okay, so this part is the beginning of the book. It's the introduction. It's about the custom house, and he talks about this character who is working in this custom house and finds the manuscript or finds the story about Hester Prynne and how she was branded with the Scarlet Letter. And this person, by accident, or it was also trying to be a writer, so use this story to create this book, The Scarlet Letter.
But she wasn't branded with a branding iron.
Yeah,
No,
right.
she wasn't branded.
It was just
on the
sewn
clothes.
on
It
the
was
clothes.
sewn on her clothes. But the thing,
That's a critical part of the story.
Yeah.
well, right. And the thing is, I thought it sounded way too personal. So I looked up to see if Nathaniel Hawthorne actually worked in a custom house, and he did. Because some of the language that he used, his character used for the drudgery of this job, it just seemed to me that he knew it too well. It was in his system. So this is what I'm reading. Okay. I was only conscious that what would have been a pleasure once was now a hopeless toil. I had ceased to be a writer of tolerably poor tales and essays and had become a tolerably good surveyor of the customs. That was all. But nevertheless, it is anything but agreeable to be haunted by a suspicion that one's intellect is dwindling away or exhaling without your consciousness, like ether out of a vial, so that at every glance you find a smaller and less volatile balance. Of the fact there could be no doubt in examining myself and others, I was led to conclusions in reference to the effect of public office on the character, not very favorable to the mode of life in question. An effect which I believe to be observable, more or less, in every individual who had occupied the position. That is, that while he leans on the mighty arm of the Republic, his own proper strength departs from him. He loses in an extent proportioned to the weakness of force of his original nature, the capability of self-support. If he possesses an unusual share of native energy or an enervating magic of place do not operate too long upon him, his fortified powers may be redeemable. The ejected officer, fortunate in the unkindly shove that sends him forth betimes to struggle amid a struggling world, may return to himself and become all that he has ever been. But this seldom happens. He usually keeps his ground just long enough for his own ruin, and then is thrust out with sinews all unstrung to totter along the difficult footpath of life as he best may. Conscious of his own infirmity, and that his tempered steel and elasticity are lost, he forever afterwards looks wistfully about him in quest of support external to himself. I began to grow melancholy and restless, continually prying into my mind to discover which of its poor properties were gone, and what degree of detriment had already accrued to the remainder. I endeavored to calculate how much longer I could stay in the custom house and yet go forth a man. To confess the truth, it was my greatest apprehension, as it would never be a measure of policy to turn out so quiet an individual as myself, and it being hardly in the nature of a public officer to resign, it was my chief trouble, therefore, that I was likely to grow decrepit in the surveyorship and become much such another animal as the old inspector. Might it not, in the tenuous lapse of official life that lay before me, finally be with me as it was with this venerable friend, to make the dinner hour the nucleus of my day, and to spend the rest of it as an old dog spends it, asleep in the sunshine or in the shade? A dreary look forward, this for a man who felt it to be the best definition of happiness, to live throughout the whole range of his faculties and sensibilities. And this is kind of just an add-on. There are few uglier traits of human nature than this tendency, which I now witnessed in men no worse than their neighbors, to grow cruel merely because they possess the power of inflicting harm. Okay, I know. It's all this language that's so
verbose.
unmodern. No, you think
And
this
heavy.
is verbose? 3 pages this was.
Oh yeah, I know. It's a good thing you edited that down.
But I like the language. I like it. It's like a gift to my brain to have this language, like, flowing in there with the rest of the things that are in my brain at this time, and making it fuller and richer and it's like manure. It's like manure for the brain. It will make all of the things that
It'll make the mushrooms grow
out of there better.
Well, that was something that a guy wrote 35 years ago about med school. Imagine you're sitting there and a truck backs up and dumps the hugest load of the most rich, organic, best manure on you ever. And then the next day, 2 truckloads come along. That's med school. So, yeah, that's but I was thinking more like percolating than.
Yeah, percolate. Yeah, I'm
percolate the
I'm
manure
struggling.
in a percolator and make shit coffee.
Okay, you killed that point, so good on you.
I'm good at that.
I'm just enjoying. I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying all these books that I read before, and I have no recollection of whatsoever. I'm listening to them, and I'm thinking, my brain is a sieve. It's like it just.
Oh, like the Cheech and Chong song, "Earache My Eye," Mama. Someone's like,
I don't know any Cheech and
Chong
Chongs,
trying to tell me how to live, but I don't listen to him because my brain is like a sieve.
Yeah, I will. But
Yeah, that's from the "Earache My Eye." Alice Bowie.
I think it was
Cheech and Chong.
I think it was a real. I don't know why I have all this curiosity and such a bad memory. I think if I had a good memory, I'd be like really smart.
Wow, that is.
You'd be like a Commodore 64.
And if I had $1 million, I'd be rich.
Yeah, but I'm saying no. I mean, I've got a curiosity, and I'm good at synthesizing things. So I'm smart, but
You're like a mole.
SMRT, smart.
but I don't have that. I don't have that ability to, like you do, and like Greg does, to come up with names and places and things.
And yet I do it without insulting people. So, good on me.
I mean, well, Greg doesn't insult people. The thing is,
And water isn't wet either.
yeah. Well, no, he does sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
That's his raison d'etre.
Oh. Anyway,
That was this whole TV show.
That's what I just said.
I felt really, really, really good just listening to this and feeling like I love this because I can look it up online and I don't have to write it out as I'm listening to it. I can go online.
Imagine having to write that out by hand.
Everything is in the public domain now. All these old books, so you can go online and you can read them on the computer. But I don't really like that. I don't have time for that. I listen to them.
Well, as long as the idea is there, that's really that the medium isn't as important. Although my mother did prefer paper books because she liked the feel of it, you know.
Yeah.
So, but then when she got her Kindle, there was no looking back.
Well, I'm still reading Herodotus. I'm going to be reading that. I mean, I've only got like 80 pages left, but it feels like I've spent my lifetime reading this book.
Well, Herodotus, or who was the other one? Plutarch?
I put Plutarch down to read Herodotus.
Well, it's because those are like cheesecake, you know. You might love it, but you can only have one slice, you know.
I can read like maybe 4 pages before I go to
And
sleep
that's
at
enough,
night.
yeah.
But and I still, it's like what I'm reading is just like all these. I wish I had. I don't bring my phone to bed. I don't like having the phone near me when I'm sleeping. So I don't have something to. But if I did, I'll probably only get 1 page done because I'd be looking everything up.
Well, I was just wondering when you said that Hawthorne worked in the customs house, because I didn't know about Upton Sinclair. I thought he was just a prissy, you know, academic or whatever, but he did undercover 7 weeks in a meatpacking plant.
Oh, I knew about that, yeah.
Because The Jungle was 13 chapters, and the first 10 was about a guy getting out of jail and talking about the bugs or the crumbs in his hair. Those were the lice. That's why prisoners would have brush cuts, women and men, because to minimize the lice.
Yeah.
And then the last 3 were about the making of the sausage. And so his want of a socialist revolution was lost in the detail because of the minutiae of making sausage.
But that was something that the president, who is it?
Theodore Roosevelt.
Theodore Roosevelt. He.
Well,
no, it was. I can't remember which president it was. It was
Wasn't Theodore Roosevelt?
was it Wilson?
Wilson. I don't know. I remember that he was an elite rich guy.
Woodrow Wilson?
But yet he went and he examined and he went and looked at the meat plant. I can't remember who it was. I saw it was on that food thing, wasn't it? That show that we were watching, the foods that change the.
Oh, Food That Changed America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why, you know about that series?
Oh, of course.
Oh.
It's food.
It was just interesting. I just found it fascinating.
Well, you know that GRAS, you know what that is? Generally regarded as safe. Like, we can't prove that it gives you cancer, but you should be okay. Like, X amount of rat droppings or bug eggs in your food, you know? Because there's about 50 cases a year of malaria in and around New York City that's autochthonous, meaning they're not sure where it comes from, but it is probably from the fruit and vegetables that come in daily, the mosquitoes that come with them that are carrying the malaria.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just verified it's Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, okay. All right. I couldn't remember. Surprise. But yeah, I thought that was.
You got to install a floppy drive on you or something.
Well, you know what? If there's ever a test for putting something in your brain for memory, I'll take it. I'll do it.
Well, that's what we discussed, right?
Yeah, and I would take that in a second.
Let me show.
Absolutely. I was so thrilled.
As long as it wasn't a Flowers for Algernon or a Charlie thing. That would,
yeah.
So I showed Jason this cartoon, and we had a discussion about it. Tom, can you put it up on the screen? No?
Where is it?
He's doing something.
Trying to get the crap off.
Crap.
You want me to open it in another tab? Here, I'll open in another tab.
better living through technology.
Very entertaining.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so what this cartoon says is, our vaccine preventing stupidity is a partial success. 30% of the Americans won't take it. But I was inspired by this cartoon. Let's say there was a drug that if you took it, you'd get smarter. Now, you probably would take it.
I do.
You would take it?
I already take it.
What do you take, Nariva?
It's for me to know.
I would like that. That sounds. A drug sounds more like Flowers for Algernon than an implant.
Well, but
Well,
also,
you'd prefer the implant to the drug.
Yeah,
We're talking a chip.
what about a shot?
a shot that would.
Instead of something you take by mouth daily, just one shot, like a vaccine.
That would improve my memory. I'd take it,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know I struggled with my memory all my life. I can't. I have a mild form of dyslexia, so I'm a very slow reader, and I everything's visual in my memory. So that's why names are so hard for me. I can remember their faces. If I see somebody's face I saw on a bus 20 years ago, I'll think, where did I see that person before? But if I had to remember the name of somebody that I just talked to, the words don't stick. It's only the visual stuff that sticks.
So what
with
about
me.
auditory memory, like music and songs and
I know all the
sounds?
lyrics to all the songs
So does
written.
that all? How is that memory?
I have good memory for sounds like
The
that,
sounds.
but I
Because the
don't.
lyrics are a different component, if you think about it, than the overall sounds.
Yeah. I remember this. I can usually make the instrument sounds along with the record.
Good. So you have auditory memory too.
I have auditory and visual, but I have no whatever. What's that called? What kind of memory is that for words and reading and stuff?
Like linguistic memory or something?
But you remember
Linguistic.
lyrics, right?
Yeah, but I do. But that's only because they're connected
So
to
it's a
music.
it's a specific
and just like my
kind of
poetry, I can't.
words.
I have a hard time memorizing my poetry. But if I write it into a song,
That's what you need
I
to do.
can remember it.
That brings me to the point of why Shakespeare is ruined in high school, because Dylan in his Nobel speech said, songs are to be sung, plays are to be played, music is to be heard. And when you have to read a play, you miss all the emotion and the reality of it, and it doesn't sound right in your own mind when you're reading it, because if you don't know what the old black ram is tupping your white ewe means,
Yeah.
you know that's there's an insult in
Yeah.
there, you know.
Yeah.
And too bad James isn't here, because he would have 3 or 4 minutes on that. But that's Othello for you, by the way.
Okay. I loved Shakespeare in high school.
Well, then you didn't do Titus Andronicus.
No, I don't think so. I think we did I went to a Catholic, so
so you did Romeo and Juliet, you did Hamlet.
Yes,
you might have done
definitely.
Othello and missed all the sexual stuff in it. I'm sorry, Macbeth. You missed all the
No,
sexual
I don't
stuff in
think we
Macbeth.
did Macbeth.
Well, because that involves sex. That's
Yeah,
why.
I don't think we had that in our book.
And the one that's a bummer is The Taming of the Shrew, because it's actually a pretty badly written,
Yeah.
but it's easy to access.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just
You know what
like
sucks?
I like the music and the words, because when
The
I was
Tempest.
reading it,
That sucked.
I felt that musical continuity of the words, and I liked that. I found
Indeed. Well, it's the lyric tone, you know.
yeah.
Come and trip it as we go on the light fantastic toe. That just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's Milton.
nobody liked it except me, and so I kept my mouth shut.
I
Catholic-
feel that.
Catholic schools. I mean, what do you think of what was her name, Mother Teresa, who was actually Albanian by birth? Sure, we'll feed you, but also you got to listen to a sermon, you know, and because if you want to fill my soul, fill my belly first.
Well, that's what, we bought pagan babies in grade school. And I think we've talked about that on the show before. We bought them with our, we would save up pennies and we would buy pagan babies. But we thought it was, we thought we were doing a good thing because we were going to give them a better life. But, I didn't understand the religious implications of taking away their own culture and religion and replacing it with something else. In third grade, you don't think about stuff like that.
Well, do you know what happens to a Korean baby when they're adopted by a Southern family?
Southern United States
Yeah.
family?
You become a Southern redneck. Because I remember a guy with whom I was in school.
That could be.
Lee J.
Yeah.
Lee J. McGregor, JAE, because he was from Korea, but he was as rednecky as the day is long. I mean, he thought NASCAR was great, Jack Daniels was better, and
Well, because it's nurture, I mean, there's something in nature, but the nurture part is what.
and he was Asian, and his grades weren't good.
Wow. Well, see, that's it. Because when my daughter was in grammar school, okay, we lived in Jackson Heights in Queens.
Not Gramercy Park.
No. So we lived in Jackson Heights, and all the kids that were in our neighborhood were from some other country. There were no American children. I mean, I shouldn't say that. There were South American children, and
but they were first generation Americans.
And they were Central American children, but there were they were from different countries. So my daughter was raised in a group of kids where education was paramount in their lives. So it became that way with my daughter. My daughter wasn't a brilliant student, but she worked really hard because her friends did, because they came from that culture. When we got back to Buffalo and she saw how lax the kids were about their schoolwork, she was like amazed. You know, all the kids she went to school with are doctors and lawyers and you know, and they are business owners, and she's still friends with them online, but she was in that group of people who were motivated by their future. Like she told her one girlfriend, she said, you know, I really like, I think it was Michael Jackson. I think he's cute, right? My daughter tells, and she says, what do you think of him? She says, I'm not allowed to think he's cute because my husband's been picked for me, and I have to study hard and become a doctor. And she did. She became a doctor. She married the guy that her parents picked out for her.
Was she Central American or was she
No,
Indian?
she was from Bangladesh.
Oh yeah, Bangladesh.
Bangladesh?
Bangladesh.
Well, it's not a B-O-N,
Bangladesh.
It's B-A-N, though.
Yeah, but just because you're... When you say Bangladesh, they know you're American.
Well, I am American.
But they know you are. But they know you are. That's how it's...
Well, I know. What difference does it make? I mean, I can't... I have a hard time pronouncing words, period.
If you call it Calcutta, they'll also know that you're a Boorish American. That's why the real name is Kolkata.
Well, but I'm not going to say that because...
Or Mumbai.
Because nobody else is going to know what I'm talking about.
Why is it Mumbai and not Bombay anymore?
Because Bombay was an English... white is right. Yeah, absolutely. White is right. You know, the white man came to save everybody, and guess what? Yeah, no.
No. But... so these kids were very academically motivated. Well, and so it motivated my daughter because she was friends with them. Well, I would lucked out.
This is where I curse Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz is a son of a bitch who leaves a trail of ungraduated students all over where he went to coach, because he'd tell 90% of them, you'll make it in the NFL. No. 10% of Division I football players will make it in the NFL. Not 90%.
Oh, no.
What about the CFL? Or the World League of American Football?
And only 10% will make it as professional football players.
I know.
Gridiron football.
Yeah.
And Lou Holtz...
Well, what's your thoughts on the CFL? Like the...
so he was... The
Hamilton
students,
Tiger Cats and the
Ottawa Rough Riders and Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
The students didn't do their schoolwork.
Winnipeg Eskimos.
Don't they have to keep a certain grade level in order to stay on the team?
2-0.
Really?
Yeah, because that's why you remember Brian Bosworth back in the 90s.
No. No, I don't remember. I don't know.
Well,
who
he had a brief movie career, but he was an academic All-American, which because he had a 3.5, and he was at Oklahoma, I believe. And but that's the thing that you didn't know. He was an academic All-American, apart from being an All-American linebacker. And Steve Young, who used his 5th year of eligibility to do the first year of law school, and he was a direct descendant of Brigham Young, you know, and or like Ken Dryden. Ken Dryden was a goalie for the. He was a rare Canadian that went to Cornell and played hockey for Cornell, American University, instead of going into the junior hockey leagues. Ken Dryden is about the most interesting person. If you had him sit here, we'd be wrapped. I mean, that guy can talk, and I mean, he's just fluid. He's a member of Parliament in Canada now, and he's actually, for being a Hall of Fame goalie, he's a better politician than he was a goalie.
Well, that's unusual. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean
but academics will get you everywhere.
Yeah,
you know the people.
But that's the thing. I feel that the sport should be secondary, like you said. There's only a small percentage of people who are going to go into the majors.
What about the Fiorello LaGuardia High School in New York, though, the Fame School? How many kids go there? They don't become famous singers, dancers, or performers.
Oh, I don't know what the stats are there, but there's a lot of places for people to be, not that they're going to be famous, but they can make money. They can have their career as entertainers in that field. There's a lot of things you can do to make money, and if you're a musician, you can be a session musician. If you are if you are a dancer, you can dance in the chorus line. If you
Or
are
at Alexander's or the Colony Lounge.
Here in Buffalo, I mean, here in Buffalo, be a session musician,
Pharaohs.
make money.
Probably not. You'd have to live in L.A. or New York, but you could do it. It's just a matter of.
Probably do it remotely too, because there's a lot of
But how
file sharing and stuff.
maybe. But I mean, I don't think you should.
But
swallow,
you should be in LA or New York or
you
somewhere
should
like
swallow
that.
your dreams in order to, because you might not make it. I don't think that should be a thing.
But education will get you everywhere. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but not everyone's educationally.
Like all of your classmates that are all studying, they're all doctors now and lawyers. Education will get you everywhere
Yeah,
because
I
you're
know,
not going to
but-
make it
but
as a
not
dancer
everybody-
or
okay,
a star
all right,
or.
But there's people who just aren't bright.
Well,
there's
that's
a bell curve.
That's a different point. That's a different point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bell curve, and that bell curve, there's a lot of people on the wrong side of it, and so.
Well, that's just statistics.
But I know, but I'm saying those people are not. No matter how much education they're going to get fed, they're not going to be able to make anything out of it. It's like,
Well, yeah, but that's not. You don't need a civil engineering degree to be a construction worker.
right.
Building trades might help, but it's not a guarantee. You could also learn on the job if you have good mentorship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think that the idea of construction and things like plumbing and things like that, I want smart people taking care of all of these things. I don't want they're funneling all these people who have low IQs into these fields. I don't want a dumb person building a house. I want somebody who's got some brains, who just loves to work with their hands and to see a finished product when they're done.
Well, if they're just using a cookie cutter and they just have, it's the same house. You have a choice of 3 houses, but that's all it is. And so and you're making those, and you're making 3 houses a week.
Yeah, I guess you can, but I'm talking about the people who are doing the.
Architect?
Yeah, well, maybe that.
So you're talking
Well,
about?
No, not really.
The thing is, in their dreams, all men are great. But when you're 20, the dreams you have, is realistic or not, when you're 50, you're just lucky you can wake up in the morning. And you know that the young man's dreams, like, I couldn't work on the ambulance now. Half my life ago I could.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I
there's
can't-
certain things you can't do as you
hump
get
it.
older.
But that's the thing, that you find med students that are 22 or 23, and they're like borderline communists. They want to work for everybody for free and and they want to go to the third world and give their skills, and then you realize, wow, this really sucks.
I gotta pay my loans
No,
back.
that's it's your life.
Yeah.
That you're like, wow, this really sucks. I'm tired all the time, and because believe it or don't, residents actually get paid pretty well. The average now is about 80 grand a year, I think. So they're not working for free.
No.
But that's the thing, that you don't worry. Making money in medicine is like falling down. You don't have to try to fall down. And if you're not making money in medicine, you're doing something really big, really wrong in a very bigly way. So that's not even the question. That I don't
But
worry.
is that why people become doctors, to make money?
Few, because you got to have more to drive you. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people in medicine have, they got the skills, they got the chops, they could do it in banking, But I just don't. I cannot put. I can't. It's like I made a Teflon when I look at the financial stuff. I'm not one that could have done that. I could do the science. I could fall into the science right now, but not the money. But there are people in medicine that could do other things.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was a med student, there was an ENT resident who was in a band before he went to med school, and because I remember the name of the band, Per Vertigo.
Is that a good name, Vanessa?
That's an excellent name.
But then, your dreams of being in a band fall by the wayside when you're like, wow, I'm an ENT, and I'm
Yeah,
on
but
call
see,
2 days a week, and
If you're really motivated and you're in a band and you don't have the responsibility of a family, you can go and you can play in bars and you can make enough money to get by if that's what your real passion is.
Well, that was my buddy Sean because he and his friend Greg, not your Greg, another Greg, they had a band called Randall in the 90s. And Sean said if he could go back, what he would do is he learned the bass. Instead of just guitar, he would have learned the bass because if you're a bass player, you can always find a job.
Yeah, you can always find work.
You can play guitar, you can transfer that pretty well to bass. They're very similar.
Yeah.
Well, not according to my musician friends that they say
I'm
no.
a musician, I play both. There's a lot
Okay,
of
so
similarity. Bass is...
That- and so
there's
that what he
there's
deal
a different
was when
technique
he,
and approach to it, but like this layout of the strings, the first 4 strings of your bass is going to be tuned to your 4 strings of your guitar. It's like E, A, D, G. That's constant.
Well, and
So
what
you can-
Sean though, when he got married, yeah, he had to put up his guitar. But Dave Grohl,
Yeah.
that he had his kids and he's still doing his.
Right. It
So,
depends on the situation. But I was just saying, Nessa and I were driving up here, and I just said, I think it's a Sufi saying. I'm not 100% sure who actually said this first, but if you tie 2 birds together, they cannot fly, even if they have 4 wings. So you can't.
What's your interpretation of that?
You have to, if you want something, if you need to do something, you can't tie yourself into a relationship that's going to burden you. You've got to concentrate on what you want and not the relationship. And until you get to a point where you say, okay, I've got what I want, now maybe I can have a relationship. But chances are, I mean,
They'll get derailed, yeah.
not everybody is cut out for relationships either. So,
although I would say the vast majority of people are. I mean, sure, not everybody, but also not everybody is going to have a high IQ, or not everybody is going to have perfect balance. But remember that 80% of people in the U.S. hate their job.
that's probably true.
No, it is true.
Yeah.
That's what surveys show.
But the thing is, I don't like the way our economy works. So for me, I can see eliminating half of those jobs that we don't really need.
Like what?
Like Trump.
Like what? Like McDonald's managers.
Someone's got to manage the
fast
place.
food crap. I mean, there's just too much stuff in this world. We are run.
There's not enough fast food. We need a Jack in the Box in Buffalo, and we don't even have one.
We're run by profit, and there's something wrong with that. If people were able to, I'm not saying everybody's going to be a rock star, but you can work at what you love and still make money. But you can't expect to make a lot of money as long as you're satisfied. If you're satisfied with what you have, you never want anything. And that's.
Is there something wrong with that?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Like, desire is like what causes unhappiness. Wanting things you don't have.
Right. If you can live a very simple life, but we're taught we need more and more and more and more.
You're programmed that you need more and more.
And everybody's dissatisfied because they keep trying to get more and more and more, and they don't need it. You don't need it. You can. I mean, I'll tell you, when I got rid of everything, when Greg and I moved away, I never felt more liberated in my life.
Yeah, well, simplify. Thoreau knew that 150 years ago.
Well, and he wasn't the first.
175 years ago.
Anyway, we're just blah, 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 blah. I guess I didn't do a show last week, so I got a lot of words in there.
Well, they should have words. That's what people listen to is words.
Give us something from your list. We've
Remember you have a granddaughter who likes Lord?
Yeah.
Lord came out with a new album this week.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. I heard.
What'd you hear about it?
I haven't heard any of the songs yet, but I did hear that they're very introspective, and she's like working out some issues. Is that am I right about that?
She was interviewed by Rolling Stone about her new album's called Virgin. And here's what Lord said. When this album hits, there's going to be a lot of people who don't think I'm a good girl anymore. It'll be over for a lot of people. And then for some people, they're going to say, oh, she's arrived. So, why would she say that? Well, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because Lord designed the album. You know, the artwork.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a X-ray, right?
There's
Yeah.
there's a number of pictures when you open up the album. Okay, this is one of the pictures.
You got the image there.
Yeah, Tom, could you show?
Plastic trousers.
Oh, that's reminiscent of
that's
the Rolling
cool.
Stones, Sticky Fingers.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, sex rounds everything, because I saw the picture of Lord, and she is cultivating looking like a harried mother of three, which she is. You know, she had bags under her eyes, her hair was all frizzy, and
she had some issues with eating disorders and drugs and things like that, didn't she, in the past?
well, right now, I'm talking about, I saw the picture today. She looks like a harried mother of three.
Harried, you mean?
Harried.
Yeah, yeah.
What
do you
does that
mean
mean
by
with like
harried?
fur?
She has 5 hours of work, and she has 4 hours to do it.
I see.
Yeah, I saw her on one of the talk shows, and I don't remember which one it was. And she looks older than her. I mean, she was famous at, I think, 15 or 16.
I thought it was 13. Honestly, I thought it was 13.
It might have been. I don't know. But she was very young. And so now she's like 22 or something.
8.
28? She's 28?
Yeah.
Yeah, so to me, I thought she was 22. She looked older than her years. But I didn't think anything that she's got a really interesting, almost a look like somebody from a painting from the Renaissance. She's got like this real pale look of, a woman from the Renaissance. That's how I see her. I think I loved Royals, the song
I hated
Royals.
that song.
Oh my
Well,
God, I love that
Oh, I
song.
couldn't
You know what's
stand it.
interesting? That no
don't
post
like
it? I don't like
code
it at
envy, and likewise that was OMC. That song, How Bizarre. That was the Otara Millionaires Club. Otara is a poor neighborhood like East Buffalo.
Yeah.
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 And so that's why I think that's two separate New Zealanders talking about poverty in
Yeah.
New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, I liked that song. I found it hypnotic. I'm sorry.
Oh, I can give you some hypnotic songs.
Well,
The Far East Family Band, from Japan, from the 70s. Now that's hypnotic.
I'll have to check it out.
It's one of the best things ever. They have this album called The Cave Down to the Earth, and it's a concept album that tells of like when your soul, when you die, and it goes back to the astral plane, and it's reassigned and comes back through the light tunnel and then gets born again and comes back down into the earth. That's The Cave Down into the Earth. And it's a whole concept album about that. And it sounds like it.
Concept albums, usually the concept isn't evident except to the people that are doing it.
Oh, they pull it off very well.
Well, that's it's like people that say obviously. When people that say obviously, it's only obvious to the person saying it.
What
Well,
about Aphrodite 666, that album? That's
Yeah,
a concept album that really gets its point across. And
yeah. I think that this is why most people are not good teachers. Okay. This obviously.
Please
thing.
don't point at me.
Oh.
It's very rude. It's very rude.
Well, I'm just.
You're pointing at me. Use 2 fingers. It's not as rude.
Yeah. I didn't mean to be rude.
Well, it's okay. I'll survive.
Isn't that a rude gesture in England, though? Like, if you do that?
Yeah.
2 fingers.
So the idea that people say obviously, it's only obvious to them. It's like if you know something, you assume everyone else knows it.
Right.
And the same thing with teaching. If you, like when I taught computer to some people who had never seen a computer before. But the reason I knew how to do that is because when I was taught computer, nobody bothered to tell me how to turn the computer on because they knew that already, and they expected that I knew that. And I resented that because it's like, why do you assume I know how to turn this thing on when I've never seen one before? And so I wrote all those instructions into the manual because that's the way you teach. You teach from the bottom. You don't teach from where you are. You teach from where they are. And so when anybody ever says that, they just assume you know because they know.
Right. And well, here's a model that completely encapsulates what you're saying. The general surgery teaching, because when you're an intern or a second year, the people you operate with, by the time you're a 5, your style has changed. And the people you couldn't stand when you were a 2 are the ones you like when you're at a 5. Whereas the instructors that are good with the ones that are in the beginning, so they all stay the same while the students move their way through.
Yeah.
There are some that are good here and there are some that are good there. And that's where they find their niche. But the student or the surgical residents are going through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So they go from student to teacher.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I just find I find that idea that we have a head full of information that we assume everyone knows.
well, also Americans, there are people that they can't believe anybody is smarter than them.
Oh, those are people who are very dumb. Those are, anybody who thinks that I don't know. I find that really, everybody's smart in some way. Everybody's got smart at something. Even
not smart, they're skilled or they have the ability.
Right.
I don't think you should say smart.
But okay, there's like the difference between emotional intelligence and regular old intelligence. Some people have an emotional intelligence level that is different than other people's. Maybe they're not good at learning things from books, but they understand social relationships and they understand things at a different level.
I'm brainy, but I'm not the prom king. I'm not the mayor. I know that though. I know where my lane is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't, but that's the point, which is much more simply stated.
But the people that think they know those people that think they know everything that they've come in contact with.
Well,
that's it.
That's the fallacy of anecdote. I've never seen it, therefore it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That because I would again thinking about a patient, because 90% of the people that get neck fasc, that's the flesh-eating bacteria, necrotizing fasciitis, necrotizing dead fasciitis. It's the fascia, which is the neck. 90% have had surgery already. And like I remember a guy, he had metal in his ankle, and he had a rash that I was watching it go up his leg, and I was on the phone because we weren't a real per se a real ED. We weren't receiving ambulances, so we weren't a real ED. But I had to transfer him, and I said, I think it might be neck fasc. And the doc on the phone said, well, I've never seen, it doesn't sound like any cases I've seen. And that was the fallacy of anecdote. I've never seen it, therefore it doesn't exist. I've never seen that, therefore it can't be. I've never seen it like that.
So he was saying that he never saw a case like that, but he never saw that at all.
Well, that's where, I sent it. I said, hey, better safe than sorry. It's like I said, you'll never get in trouble for filing a DFS report. You will get in trouble if you don't.
We don't know what DFS stands for.
Department of Family Services.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No.
Well, in every state it's different, though.
Yeah.
People use...
See, because you know what DFS is, you assume that we know
Here
what
we
it
go.
is.
Well, I don't know what they call it here in New York.
Perfect
That's why.
example. The Child and Family Services.
Yeah, so CFS.
Yeah.
That you won't, nobody will get faulted for filing a report with CFS. You will get faulted if you should have and you didn't.
Yeah, because as a doctor, you are
a certified reporter.
Mandated reporter. That means if you see something and you don't report it, you can get in trouble. It's the same
that's
thing.
a crime.
Vanessa's mother.
Teachers, doctors, nurses, anyone in the medical field, anyone that like for instance, when I was working with people with intellectual disabilities, I was a mandated reporter. If I saw something that looked fishy to me, if I didn't report it, I could get into trouble.
Police officers too.
Yeah, right. So there's certain people who have to. They don't have a choice. You don't have a choice, because if it turns out that you knew something was fishy and somebody dies or somebody's has a problem, like a kid that gets pregnant
think about
or something.
Milwaukee. And
no, I don't want
beer?
to. What? I've never been to Milwaukee.
No, the story that came out in the 90s about the Asian guy who goes out to the police screaming, "Help me, help me, help me." Milwaukee police think it's a lover's quarrel. Do you know who the other part of the group was, of that couple? Jeffrey Dahmer. He ended up killing that guy and eating him, but they thought it was just a lover's quarrel. And think about that dude in Cleveland that the Cleveland police just said, he's just, a crank or whatever. When he had the women locked up, it would be like us saying, "Oh, you're okay," and there's somebody locked up right there. That's what happens for people that are lackadaisical or not doing their job.
That's true. That's
the
true.
stuff you don't want to be on the other side of that.
No, I don't want to be anywhere near it.
But it kind of happens.
Yeah, it does happen, of course.
Pearl Harbor. Captain, can you come look at my screen here? It looks like there's planes coming at us. It's probably just a weather thing.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because it was a Sunday morning. That's what people don't realize. That. But also, that was in the infancy of radar.
It's still, I know. That's amazing.
I mean, the flash forward to, also, Pete Hegseth is an idiot. He's an idiot. He says about these pilots flying for 36 hours. No, you dipshit. That's why there's two of them. They're not both flying for 36 hours. One's resting while the other's flying, and then they switch. Because I mean, that's
he doesn't. He's not. So Trump wanted to be smarter than everyone, and he wanted no one to question anything he did. But even these dumb people are questioning, like the one that's in charge of
Tulsi Gabbard, intelligence.
Yes, intelligence. And she said there's no weapons of mass destruction.
So she gets pushed to the outside.
Right. I mean, even her, she's disagreeing with him. I mean, he can't. I mean, good thing he can't win. But
well, the thing is, look at Pam Bondi. She pretty, and that's why she got the AG spot.
Of course, that's obvious.
They just fired another 3 people that prosecuted January 6 people.
Oh,
3 more, and so they're cleaning out the department and they're legalizing lawlessness, and that's why what you do is you purge the academics.
It's like Pol
yes,
Pot.
that's right. That is right.
Wow.
You know, making the academic people, making the smart people the enemy.
Well, if you
They're
take the
always
smart
the
people out,
enemy, it
you're only left
seems.
with the dumb, and that's like idiocracy.
And that's who you can control.
And that's something that Tom made me watch, and I loved it.
It was hilarious.
It was.
Can't talk, baiting.
All right. So, let's see. What else do we have on the list, Richard?
I sent this to a group of people, and I said, "Does this quote apply to you?" Let me read it to you, and then you tell me what the majority of people I sent this to said.
Okay.
All right. I salute the mad ones, the ones who are the square peg trying to fit into the round hole of life. They're out there rattling down the highways of the dusty back roads of their own souls, with their eyes lit up like Roman candles, burning, burning, burning for something nobody else can even see. They're the ones who hear the secret music of the universe in the honk of a passing truck, or the lonely whisper of the wind through the high telephone wires. They got that itch, that divine restlessness, the yearning for the true thing, whatever that is, just beyond the next horizon. They ain't got time for your sensible shoes or your safe little worries, because their hearts are howling like freight trains on a midnight run.
What's that from, Richard?
Is that Ginsburg?
It's by author unknown.
Oh,
So, what do you think the majority of people, when they read that, I said, does this apply to you?
Oh, you mean that they are that person? The majority of people. I think a lot of people would identify with that. People like artistic, creative people. Or did they all?
Everybody. I sent it to like 10 people. And everybody except one said, that's me to a T.
Wow.
That interesting?
and who's the one? Me. That I said.
You don't know him, but
Oh no, I didn't.
But you know what he said? He didn't say anything about if it applied to him. He said, "Wow, that sounds like something that a drug addict would say, looking at the world." And I thought, isn't that interesting? He's putting this into the mind of a drug addict.
Well,
No, what I said.
because some people don't see on that level. Some
Right.
people see only surface, and I don't know if they just haven't developed that ability or they just can't.
What I said was about the borderline between insanity and art. You know, that Sylvia Plath would be on heavy meds today and she'd still be alive if they had them 60
Yeah.
years ago. And that was my rationale. That
Yeah, there is a thing. I think that the people who are able to think creatively, it can be misinterpreted as mental illness. And I think there is a connection between the two. I mean, you can't be totally like off the wall. Like,
But what is mental illness? Maybe it's mental deviation or mental. It's a different way of perceiving. It's not necessarily mentally ill. They call it mentally ill because it's not fitting the norm.
Right.
But what is the norm? It's just different ways of perceiving. Most things that are perceived as or called mental illness really aren't even mental illness. They're just differences in perception.
I mean, how can you like the difference between a person who can listen to a piece of music and be moved by it, and then another person who it doesn't affect. There's just different ways of being, and I know people like Greg's brother Mark. He is mentally ill. He can't function without medication in the world at all.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a level, and like Medium, Dave Medium.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't function at all. But before he went off the deep end, he was one of the most creative people that you could meet.
Yeah.
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 But
he was.
it went over too far somehow. I don't know. I don't know how that. And Mark was very creative too. He wrote a lot. He wrote some of the songs that we've put in the movies, and some of the songs that Greg performs now.
I've been reading about Clara Bow. Do you know anything about her?
I know. I know
all about her.
I can see her face.
she was the it girl. Clara Bow, that was the thing. She has it.
Yeah.
Not the clap before you say anything. No, she had it, though. She had the thing, the ineffable trait of charisma. That's essentially what it is charisma. And so that's why she was, Mary Pickford was America's sweetheart, but Clara Bow was the it girl. Helen Hayes was first lady of the American stage. Everybody had these epithets.
Yeah.
And...
well, I mean, I can see her.
I wanted to tell you about her.
So, I can see her face.
So she was raised in poverty, and she was at Coney Island, and they said, sign up for a free audition. If you win, you might get into a movie. And she said to her father, "Oh, Dad, please, it's only a small amount of money, and put me down, and they'll audition me." And the father said, "Okay." So he signed her up, and then she went in the audition. They said, "You're pretty good. We'll put you into the second round, third round, fourth round." When she got to the final round, it was her and a very tall, blonde, beautiful woman. And Clara Bow said, "I got to get an edge if I'm going to beat this woman out for this audition, because if it's based on looks, I don't have it." So she looked at the way the beautiful woman performed, and it dawned on her. She said, "Oh, she's performing the way you would expect a star in Hollywood to relate to that scene." She said, "I'm going to relate to that scene as Clara Bow, nothing to do with the star." And she got the part.
Because she was more natural, right?
Yeah. And so she followed that her whole life,
Yeah.
because then, of course, somebody else saw her audition, and then she worked her way up, And at one point, she was making $1,000 a week. This is in the 20s.
That's a lot of money
in the
back
20s.
then, yeah.
So what happened to her?
Doesn't it have something to do with the talkies with the movie when the movies? No, it wasn't that she had a really bad voice.
It's a question of she got what she wanted, but she didn't want what she got. So in other words, she became this star, right? She couldn't open up her door without reporters around the
Oh,
door.
yeah.
She
Of
couldn't
course,
open up a
fame.
newspaper saying, who is Clara Bow dating now?
Yeah.
Is Clara Bow secretly a lesbian? You know what
Well,
I mean? All kinds of stuff like that.
Also, 1932, she reputedly screwed the entire USC team, the Thundering Herd of USC in 1932.
That's
what it said.
probably from one of those reporters.
Yeah, it said the Thundering Herd, were they a couple?
Oh, God.
Yeah. So it wore her down and wore her down and wore her down to the point where she felt herself losing it.
You can't have any life of
So
your own.
after making 50 movies and at being at the top of everybody's best actress list, she said, "I'm out.
Wow.
I'm out." And she went and she had a boyfriend, and he said, "Look, I know if you stay in this town, it's going to destroy you. Let's go to Nevada. We'll start a ranch." Can you believe it?
Yeah, well,
So she went out there, and the reporter still went after her in
of course.
Nevada.
Of course. She
Are
was
you really not coming back? All that other
Yeah,
stuff.
but I can see where that would be. Greg and I used to have this conversation all the time because, when Greg was younger, he wanted to be famous, but we've had this conversation over and over again. I said, I would like my work to be known.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be, I don't want that personal thing where people would be annoying me and I couldn't walk down the street. And I mean, I look at the way these people have to live. Look at what happens to people. They get involved with drugs and they try to cope. The idea of being a famous person, I just had no interest in that.
Never meet your heroes.
Yeah. Well, did I ever meet a hero of mine? I did. I met Woody Allen. This is before and all this other stuff.
But
In what
he-
decade of the, was it 70s,
It was
80s?
no, it was in wait a minute. It was 70. It was, yes, because my daughter, it was the end of the 70s. I met him in the
After
end
Annie
of the
Hall?
70s. After Annie Hall, yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to meet your hero?
You've never heard that? Because they're human like everybody
They're
else.
human, yeah.
And then
I met Robert Moog, and he was one of the best people I ever talked to. I was very glad that I met him.
then you're an outlier
good.
because look up the phrase "never meet your heroes." That's the whole point.
Yeah,
is that
but
they're-
that-
It doesn't
they have their-
apply to me.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I guess it depends on how much of a relationship you have. Because if you're going to have a relationship and you think that they're just this pillar and this icon and this thing on a pedestal, you're going to be disappointed no matter who they are.
But if you read the book and you read it in a British accent in your mind, and when you talk to them and they say, "Hey, how you doing?" Right there, it's busted.
Yeah.
The paradigm is busted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. But
And likewise, what if
the
they read to the
illusion.
server?
I felt
You
really.
don't want to crack the illusion.
I was
Is that
elated
what you're talking about?
talking to Woody Allen. I felt really like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to Woody Allen. It was great.
What did he say?
Well, I was at he played in a jazz band, and it was in a bar, and the bar had a restaurant in the front where the band was. So I had talked the guy, the bouncer, into letting me stand by the bathroom, which was in the restaurant area, because I wasn't going to buy a meal because it was expensive. So I stood by the bathroom, and then when the band stopped and I went up, and I like, what am I going to say? Hi. And he said hi, and then we just had a little bit of back and forth, and then a guy from the back of the room said, "Hey, Woody Allen, you want to come down to New Orleans and play your music for us?" And Woody Allen said, "Well, what do you mean New Orleans?" He said, Can you get there by subway?" And the guy said, "Subway? No, down in Louisiana, we want you to come play." And he said, "I'm sorry, I don't go any place where I can't get to by subway." Of course, he's got a limousine outside waiting for him. But as he was leaving, he turned around and he said, "It was nice meeting you, bye." And I was like, thrilled. I know it was a little thing, but
Because I remember him, he was in a skit on Saturday Night Live like in 1983, and he talked about, Joe Piscopo was playing Sinatra, and I forgot who the other one was, but that's when Woody Allen said, "Oh, I have my faggot phone book with me right here," because they said about Sinatra saying, all the gays and whatnot and all those people around here. And I remember him saying that on national TV, "My faggot phone book." But that's the thing, that people are people. And it's like the joke about
We've got 34 seconds
Roman
left.
Polanski. I heard Roman Polanski is dating a 42-year-old woman. He said, the way I see it, she's equal to 3 14-year-olds.
Oh, God. Anyway, this was fun. Thank you, everyone, for coming and being involved. And I will see you next week, I believe. And I'm shot. Thank you.
Well, okay. Thanks for coming, y'all.